Hi and welcome to the second episode of Let's Masdebate with Mary and Louis.
I'm honoured to have made it to the second episode.
Well, thanks. Your efforts are definitely appreciated in this little team we have.
Thank you so much.
So on this episode, we're going to be primarily focusing on masturbation, in particular female masturbation and the stigmatisms that are really surrounding that topic.
Yeah, we're also going to share some experiences that we've both had as a couple in regards of the stigmatisms surrounding female masturbation in particular.
Yeah, also we're going to just have a bit of a delve into the education system in regards of sex education and relationships and see if masturbation has in any way been incorporated into the curriculum, as I don't know about you, but I believe that masturbation is pretty essential in developing a sexuality and really just learning about your body.
They're certainly very linked, and I think that if you don't know yourself, then you'll never be able to fully know somebody else.
Yeah, definitely. If you don't know what you like, how on earth is someone else gonna know? Okay, so let's begin. So what are schools teaching us about masturbation? Me, personally, I don't think I ever even heard the word muttered by a teacher or any form of sex professional.
You know, me neither. It definitely wasn't touched upon in my sex education classes. No. It wasn't even acknowledged as being a real thing. I
never even heard of females masturbating until I was a late teenager.
Yeah, and I think it should be something that's discussed maybe a little earlier, because I think it can lead to less risk-taking behaviour in the long run.
But a point that I want to really touch on is that male masturbation is so common, hearsay on the playground, at school, as a teenager. I think that jokes about it, comments about it.
Boys can talk about their penises all day long, but As soon as a woman mentions her vagina...
I know, especially touching her own vagina, that has been seen as such a dirty thing, and it blows my mind, because a vagina is so clean. It's like it has its own self-cleaning system.
Cleans itself.
I've seen some dirty balls. I don't know about you. Well, yeah, and I remember in primary school, male masturbation being a topic discussed between boys, because I had a particularly male-orientated friendship group when I was like 11.
Down with the lads.
Yeah, and I remember them talking about it, even making jokes about sleepovers and going corners to masturbate and things like disgusting things like that. And any talk of a woman masturbating there just wasn't any.
No. And how are you ever gonna see your own actions and experiences as normal if nobody's ever talking about them?
No, and that Netflix show called Galoop Lab or something like that.
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow. She's talking to a sex expert, therapist, and Gwyneth Paltrow said that she has never seen her own vagina.
What?
So many women, apparently, it's quite common that they've never just picked up a mirror and looked.
Yeah, I was gonna say all you need is a bit of angle.
You just need your phone,
Yeah.
It blows my mind that you can have such an important organ in your body and you've never even looked at it.
Wow. Yeah, that's fascinating. Every boy has seen their own penis.
Yeah, and I think it is something, self-exploration should be something that I think is encouraged through sex education at the appropriate age, because people that do not know how to have a sexual experience on their own may go seeking in a more dangerous environment for a sexual experience, and they could be put in a vulnerable situation that they wouldn't have been put in if they'd have known that they can have sex with themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine it also does wonders for your body image. I couldn't imagine there being a whole part of my body that I know almost nothing about or I've never seen before.
Yeah, and seeing your own body in a sexual way, even if you're not having a partner, it's empowering. You shouldn't have to miss out on the pleasures just because you don't want to share it with someone or you haven't had the opportunity to.
Yeah.
And for this very episode, I've been doing quite a bit of research on the topic, and I've actually had a look at the current school curriculum on what's going to be enforced in sex and relationship education from September.
Oh, interesting. It'd be cool to see how much progress has been made.
Yeah, from what we were taught, definitely. And I think a couple of the points that I pulled out which weren't applicable to us, the kind of online behaviours. I think when we were in end of primary school or in secondary school,
the internet was the Wild West for us.
Yeah, we were not educated really on what pornography does to your sexual image, and that is apparently something that's on the curriculum.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah, it said that specifically sexually explicit material, for example pornography, presents a distorted picture of sexual behaviours and can damage the way people see themselves in relation to others, and have negatively affected how they behave towards sexual partners.
Very well worded.
I think that's very progressive and very important, because a lot of material that young men in particular are seeing is just pornography.
Yeah, and I think it's most boys' first exposure, which does absolutely terrible things to a man's sexuality.
That being my first exposure to sex, looking at pornography. I think that I was very more interested in researching it for myself. Well, I never really enjoyed pornography because I already recognised that it had such derogatory notations from having young male friends when I was at school.
Yeah, it's got a negative effect for sure.
There's still the general facts about reproductive health, fertility. Menstruation is a big part of the mental health section, but after looking through the entire curriculum, I haven't in particularly seen a mention of masturbation at all.
So it's still not there.
It's still not there. There's the whole thing about religion being able to change what's being taught. Which is...
Right. Can religion change what's being taught in the UK? I know in America it's a different story.
Yeah, in this curriculum it said that religion can teach the different things.
Oh, so it's saying that religious education has alternate explanations that are different from what's being offered here.
That your school can be teaching.
Alongside this.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's all right. So it doesn't replace it.
I'm not sure if it does. I don't think so, but I'll have to check. I don't think it does.
Well, we hope not.
No, I definitely hope not, because that can be quite damaging.
Yeah.
I remember growing up in a particular religious household, and masturbation in that religion is a massive no. You do not do that.
Big sin.
Big sins. And therefore, when I first discovered it at the grand old age of 17...
Old.
Really? How old were you when you discovered masturbation?
As soon as it worked.
Yeah, when was that?
13.
13. How is that fair? You got another 4 years of masturbating.
I'm sorry. I didn't think that I would go to hell if I did it.
Yeah, I know, but that's because I didn't know about it. That's not because I didn't think I was allowed.
You didn't know about it?
No. I know, I didn't know about it. I don't think a lot of girls did. So many women from my school, I think in particular, have had the impression that female masturbation is dirty and wrong.
Like it's got sort of a...
It's like, oh, you finger yourself.
Yeah, for lack of a better word, like a slutty connotation.
Definitely.
Wow.
It has such negative connotations that you might do it in private, but you would never admit to doing it. If it was ever brought up at school, like if you were like, yeah, I masturbate, you'd be teased. You'd be like, what the hell?
No, I remember girls getting taken the piss out of a little bit for things like very masturbation related.
So two friends at a party I had a discussion with, I think in year 13 maybe, and we just brought it up for the first time I'd ever spoken about it to any female friend, and they were just like, yeah, I do it, and I was like, oh my god, me too. And it was like this revelation that you're not the only one that's apparently doing something that's so dirty.
Normalised female masturbation.
Because a statistic from my survey that...
Lay it on us.
The statistic was, so this was on 173 responses, 94% said that they think male masturbation is more normalised in society than female masturbation.
And it definitely is.
Definitely.
The numbers are there.
They are the numbers. So, as you previously said, you were 13 when you discovered that you could masturbate and the pleasures of masturbation.
I believe so, yeah.
So how did that come about?
So, as I developed, my penis grew a new feeling.
Yeah.
I just, I'm an engineer at heart.
Okay.
Yeah,
you're engineering.
Hated my degree. So I wanted to know what was going on. how
Okay.
it worked. Like, certain things felt good.
So you went for a bit of an explore.
A bit of an explore, yeah. I touched it and felt it, see what worked, see what didn't work.
But you already did you already have the knowledge of like recognized motions that masturbation was?
Yeah, when I was a kid, like the other kids in the alleyway would be like doing that handshaking motion at me and calling me a wanker. So there was already this preconception, this knowledge that was being fed into my brain.
Exactly.
Without my consent.
So on the other way, when you think about it, what gesture is there to simulate female masturbation?
Not one so universal.
No. So how from that would you even know what to do?
Yeah, that's
Especially
interesting.
no access to like the internet. I didn't have access to the internet at home at that time as a teenager. So,
Dad said no.
So that's not really something I want to look up at the library.
No?
I'm not sure those sites are allowed, but you eventually find out, I think, from Googling and whatnot. But that period of time where I didn't have any access, and I imagine a lot of other women didn't know what to do or where to do it.
Yeah.
It can impose quite a problem, especially in developing a sexuality and developing what you like. Because when you think about it, in comparison to that, you had sex at quite a young age. And I imagine a lot of girls are having sex at a young age, and maybe a majority or at least a significant percentage haven't masturbated.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, especially with some statistics that I saw online about how many years that woman was having sex before she'd even masturbated. 7 years.
7 years.
It's stuck in my head. I can't believe that.
Yeah. All right, Columbus. How did you discover masturbation?
So I did not know how to masturbate and had no one that I felt comfortable asking how to do that. I remember particularly in my friendship group, I think if it was ever brought up, everyone was like, no, I don't do that. Fingering myself, that's gross.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. So it was just sometime in the shower.
So you had to seek alternative means.
Yeah, I did. I was in the shower one day and I think I'd seen a scene in a movie where I think someone used the shower head to masturbate. Yeah, I gave that a go. So it turns out that I had my first orgasm standing up.
Unlike most.
You think so?
Yeah, I'd imagine most people probably masturbate first time lying down.
Yeah, I like a challenge.
Yeah, you're indie. You do it your own way.
So there's clearly a lot of stigmatisms around female masturbation in particular. What are some that you have heard of?
I had heard that female masturbation was dirty and a bit gross, but really all that comes down to is just a lack of education.
It must be, because it's not dirty and it's not gross. It's very, very normal. And if you are in an environment or situation where you are developing your sexuality and you are starting to masturbate, or you've only just discovered masturbation, just know that it is normal and it's okay and there's nothing wrong or dirty about it.
Yeah, and if it's normal for a guy to touch a woman's vagina, then why isn't it normal for a woman to touch her own vagina? I mean, that just seems insane to me.
It seems like sexism, bro.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've also heard that is dirty or unhygienic or slutty or gross is having a vibrator or a dildo.
What?
I feel like that's always been a very big running joke if a woman had a sex toy, she was particularly promiscuous or just weird.
Yes, I've definitely heard of that one before.
And it was definitely not normal to be like, oh, I have a vibrator. It'd be like, oh my God, what the hell?
Yeah, and I mean, I can guarantee you that a woman's vibrator is probably 9 times out of 10 cleaner than
your toothbrush.
Yeah, your toothbrush.
Definitely.
Or your penis.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, and I grew up with the idea that masturbation was wrong and having a vibrator was wrong, as I did have one as a teenager that I hid in my bedroom.
You had to hide it.
I hid it. And once my brother found it, and he actually we were in an argument about something, and he actually threatened to tell my parents about it.
Blackmail.
Yeah, he was
sexual
blackmail me. But yeah, it was a thing that made me feel bad about myself, when it's definitely, retrospectively, I should have just been like, so tell them, I don't care.
Yeah.
But when you're so caught up with the idea that it is wrong and not normal, it's a sensitive
topic. I think as a parent, I would be glad that my daughter's not out there having risky sex. And
exactly, I could have been out having sex with anyone instead, but I wasn't. But that was seen just as bad.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, really.
It definitely doesn't make any sense. And I remember the first friend that I heard that got a vibrator when she was away at uni. I was like, oh my god, and then was so perplexed by the idea. I think I may have said that I had one, but I can't remember.
You were ready to share that with someone or not?
I'm not sure, but it was nice to see that it was being normalised. And then when a friend at uni got bought one for her birthday, I think it is a normal, sensible gift, really.
Yeah. Thoughtful,
definitely. Here, happy birthday, here's some orgasms.
Wow. What more could you want? But how could we even change society's perspective on masturbation? It seems so written in history.
Yeah, it is a very set in stone idea that it's quite taboo and a forbidden topic. So much so that it isn't educated about, and I think that is probably the primary way that you can ensure getting rid of the stigmatisms, because the more people that know and understand that it's a good and sex positive way to learn about sex, the more normalised it will become in society. I feel comfortable now talking to my friends about masturbation and vibrators and just sex in general, but it takes a lot to build up the courage, especially if you're in a friendship group that doesn't really normally discuss sex.
Yeah, and think about all the stress and anxiety that it could have saved you if you had been able to speak about it much, much earlier.
Exactly. And I, from the ages from puberty to I learnt to masturbate when I was 17, I was probably the horniest person alive. And I think...
poor gal.
And I think too many teenagers have the same problem. You have so much sexual frustration, and I remember it making me crave a relationship more than a vibrator.
Oh, but you didn't really want a relationship yet.
Not really. I think... at school it would be nice, I guess, but school's enough without having a boyfriend, I imagine. But who's to know? Maybe if you had a boyfriend and were having sex, it would relieve some of that tension.
I imagine so, but the sex could be bad.
The sex could be bad. Neither of you have learnt about female masturbation, and how do you know he knows what to do to you if you can't come from penetrative sex?
Yeah, which only a very small percentage of women can do.
Yeah, 20% if we remember from the last episode. Yeah, now we're gonna embarrass ourselves maybe a little and share a story that we experienced this year, which was all centred around female masturbation.
Yes, it was.
You wanna set the scene, start the story?
I'll set the scene. So from my end, I'm at university at the time.
Yeah, I'd stayed at your house.
Yeah, Mary was currently staying at my house. It was the morning still, and she'd gone up.
You'd gone for a lecture.
And I'd gone for a lecture early in the morning. I was dragging my poor brain through the day.
Yeah, and I'd gotten up and I was going to go into the studio, but not until after lunch, I don't think. I think I was going to meet you at lunchtime.
Yeah.
And then do some work in the studio. And I had I'd laid in bed for a while, been on my phone, on TikTok, listened to music. I got ready, had a shower, did my makeup, matched my makeup to my outfit, was having a good time, had some music on, was singing, having a bit of a dance, and just having a good day.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was in a real good mood. I was ready to go to the studio and create some good work on this subject. And
so
little did I know.
Little did she know. Then I get a message on my phone, and one of my housemates goes, "Oi, what's the deal with your girl masturbating? Like, I think the term was rubbing one out.
Yeah. Over breakfast.
While we're trying to eat breakfast, like." First of all, it's almost lunchtime, mate. and second of all, I'm fairly sure that my girlfriend wouldn't just be masturbating at 11. She's getting ready to go to university. Yeah,
the thing is, it wasn't a private message either. This was in a group chat for their house, which contained 5 boys.
Yeah, so everyone else saw. He hasn't spoken to Mary about it. Just me and everyone else in the house.
I went downstairs in the house, and one of them that had said that they they'd heard it and was in the living room at the time, and he said hi to me or like acknowledged me and did not mention it at all. Didn't say anything, like muggins here. I was just walking, like leaving the house, being like, oh, I'm gonna have a good day. And little did I know that they were all talking about me apparently masturbating.
Yeah.
And then hearing me.
Very strange behaviour. So I tell them that it's probably not the case, but I'll check with Mary anyways. I'll ask her, bearing in mind that I told them that I was texting her at the time, and the texts were non-sexual.
Yeah.
I don't think she'd been up to anything like that. It doesn't really fit time wise, and I explained that to them, but they were adamant.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had like sex the day before, and when I'm in a relationship, masturbating isn't really something that I do. I feel like if we get horny, you have sex. When we live together now, and we're together practically every night at university, so it's never really been an issue or something that I've continually been doing.
No, I was pretty perplexed, and I unfortunately had to break the news to you about what was going on.
Yeah, I met you in the cafe, and you were like, there's been some messages in the group chat, and I'm just like, what? So confused. And I saw it, and I literally died. I was angry and upset and frustrated, and I was just so confused because I just wasn't. And I'm doing a podcast about sex, and at that point I'd already even started my project about female sexual pleasure, and I would have admitted it. And said sorry.
Yeah.
But the thing is, those boys, I don't think, have enough experience with women in a sexual environment that they even know what masturbating sounds like.
Yeah.
Because when you masturbate, I don't know if I can speak for every woman, but most of them that I've told this story to have agreed that when you masturbate, you don't scream and shout, and you're not getting rammed. It's not really the same.
It's not. It's like, not something you're going to be.
You don't make the sex noises. Like, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
Nowhere near on a volume level that they'd be heard a story below.
Yeah. Honestly, the whole, it's such a ridiculous situation. Pretty disgraceful behaviour on their end. It was just
pretty disgraceful. And the worst part is that I was just called a liar.
Yeah, and they called me a liar too, saying that, oh, you weren't there, how would you know?
How would you know? But the thing is, they've clearly not been in a relationship where they know their partner well enough whether they can tell if they're lying or not. Yeah. I've never lied to you about anything. I don't see the point. Lying just creates distrust.
Distance.
Yeah, distance. So that was very embarrassing, and it wouldn't have happened if female masturbation wasn't
so stigmatized.
Because it was made out that I was doing such a horrible crime.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They made me feel like I was personally insulting them by potentially masturbating in their house, which I was not, for the record.
No.
Yeah, so we...
Yeah, we've been personally affected by this, so this is definitely quite a prudent topic for us.
Yeah, I think that when you are affected by it personally, you do understand the stigmatisms and how it can actually impact your sex life, because it impacted our sex life a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, so they're listening to us having sex or the sex noises that we make and are going to talk about it between each other. Like, you're in a uni house of 5 boys. Like, you are going to hear sex noises.
Yeah.
They were for sure no angels and allowed a whole multitude of not necessarily legal activities to take place in their house.
Yeah, and but a woman masturbating.
Who could believe
breakfast?
It? At breakfast. Clearly none of them have ever had any morning sexual experiences.
No. And I think the fact that it was to do with female masturbation meant that no one else really backed me.
No.
Because I think it's a taboo subject for them to talk about. So they were like, I'm just not going to get involved.
I was humiliated. I was so upset that they wouldn't even... Like, if it was just an issue and they weren't trying to use it to humiliate me, they would have just sent me a private message.
Yeah, but obviously humiliation was the objective.
And so from that, I think that a lot of people might have had the same kind of experiences. Maybe not if they've not been subjected to such vile human beings.
Let's hope that
they've not. But there are many questions surrounding female masturbation that have been proposed on my female sexual pleasure and wellness surveys, and we're gonna pop back to that section of the podcast where we answer one of those questions.
Nice. So what have we got today? What is the best way to teach female sexual pleasure when every female I engage with finds different things pleasurable?
That is a very, very good question.
Excellent. Yeah.
Every woman is different and every woman enjoys different things. There are obvious correlations between what biologically is stimulating and not. But
yeah, like there's a science behind it that would work for the majority of people.
Yeah, so actually, we're going to put this question on you, Louis, seeing as you've had more female sexual partners than I. I haven't had any.
Yeah, okay. I think that the teaching should be based around discovery and exploration because it does vary so much.
But do you have like a go-to method?
No.
Really? So when you're going to like give oral sex, you just go for what it looks like?
I have like a basic technique that I start from, and then from there it's really about observing and seeing what works.
Yeah, I think the most important aspect of it is the woman communicating what she's liking and what she's not liking.
Yeah, see, now that'll work if the woman is communicating with you, but if...
What do you do if they're not?
Oh, it's just bad.
It's bad.
It's just bad. There's nothing I can do at that point.
I imagine that you try and do different things.
Yeah, to try and elicit maybe some sort of reaction. If there's no reaction at all, I'm just going to assume that I'm doing badly. And probably stop.
I think that is smart, and I think women need to know that they should sometimes give like a reaction to what's happening as an indicator to communicate, because not all women will feel comfortable saying, oh yeah, I really like that, do that, like to the left, to the right.
Oh yeah, but of course it doesn't have to be like, verbal.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying, that women might not feel comfortable saying what's good and bad, or move or more or less pressure, and sometimes like cocking your hips or moving or just like sounds in general are a great indicator, I think, of what you are enjoying.
Sounds, body language.
Yeah, and it's things that you don't even realise give off such information when you're receiving. So connecting that to what we've been talking about earlier in regards of developing what you like and don't like through personal exploration, I think it's also important to add that masturbation doesn't always mean making yourself come or making yourself have an orgasm. It's also just about touching and feeling and just having a kind of experience that doesn't always have to lead to an orgasm.
Yeah, it could be that you're experimenting and it simply doesn't work. So
yeah, definitely, and that's not a bad thing, and that's not a negative experience to take away. Like if you're trying it for the first time or trying something new for the first time, it's not always going to work, and even if it doesn't work the first time, easing into something is definitely important to remember when you're experimenting with sex.
Yeah, that can be a big help.
Big help. Just like taking it slowly, like step by step, baby steps are important, especially if you have a negative kind of experience or negative connotation maybe like towards masturbation.
A negative upbringing and sort of environment surrounding it as well.
Also, not all people have their own bedrooms. Not everyone has their own personal space. A lot of people share bedrooms. I remember sharing a bedroom with my sister as a child for a period of time when I first hit puberty. And I remember sitting there, lying there in the middle of the night on my top bunk, being like, oh my god, I'm so horny, what do I do?
Oh, no.
And I just had to live through it and just
bear through the pain.
Yeah, hope that one day I would have a sexual awakening and feel, not normal, but more in tune with my sexuality.
Yeah.
And anyone that does share a personal space with a relative or a friend, know that masturbation is not something that you have to partake in every day or routinely. It's not something that you particularly forget.
Yeah.
And one experience that
like riding a bike.
Yeah, one experience that you might have on your own when you particularly have half an hour or something alone doesn't have to be in your bedroom or the space that you share with someone.
Though it should be somewhere ideally private and your own.
Yeah, definitely, but I just mean that not everyone has that kind of personal space.
No.
So if they're in the bath or the shower, that's a very personal space that you can try and experiment with.
Absolutely.
And on the point of sex toys, I think there's such a stigmatism around that, and that should be changed. And I think one thing that helps with the normalization of sex toys is trying to introduce your sexually inexperienced friends to them.
Wow, yeah.
Because I think that if you're friends with someone that isn't necessarily having much sex, or maybe they've only had it once or twice.
Yeah, and a sex toy probably, it doesn't need quite as much explaining as as maybe a manual method would.
No, but and if you have that kind of relationship where you're close with someone, know that a gift as a sex toy is not necessarily an inappropriate gift if you have that kind of relationship. Yeah. I think, as we said before, gifting someone an orgasm is pretty nice and doesn't always have to have a sexual connotation in your relationship.
No, platonic orgasm.
Very platonic. And because having a sexual experience or an orgasm or just touching yourself does a lot for your mental health and self-esteem.
Yeah.
It can put you in a sexual scenario that can boost your confidence, especially if you're not having much sexual contact with another person. And with that, it can help the person know what they're like and don't like, particularly if the person isn't comfortable with touching themselves with their own hands. I think that could be helpful for some people that have been shied away from manual masturbation.
Yeah, I can imagine some people don't like the feeling of their own skin against.
I think I've spoken to a couple of people that don't feel comfortable putting their own fingers in their vagina, but maybe feel comfortable with something a bit more phallic.
Yeah.
Especially as it's designed for that purpose, it definitely could.
Yeah, and I think toys can be useful if you don't want to have a particularly sexual connotation to your own hands.
Yeah, that's also a very valid point. I think maybe some people would see their hands after that they've masturbated as maybe something that they don't feel comfortable with, or whereas you can have that separation with a sex toy and put it in, like, clean it and put it in a drawer and forget about it until the next experience, if that's the kind of the situation that you want to build and learn from.
Absolutely.
I think that might be a good sex positive note to end this episode on.
Yeah, I must say I've enjoyed this episode very much.
I think it's been quite interesting to delve into this topic. I've not really heard many people really go into that much detail about it before.
Yeah, and hearing it from a woman's perspective as well, it's so different. So it's been insightful. I'm
glad, and I hope that someone, just one person listening, could have learned something from our experiences and know that what their experience is totally fine.
Oh, that is the goal, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Mary, if you don't mind me asking, what do we have? What's the you wanna tell me what's on the next one, huh? So what's up next?
Your fucking funeral when I fail my degree.
Oh yeah.
So if you want to tune into the next episode, that is all going to be focused around consent and homosexuality, I think. You got nothing to say. Worst co-host ever.